Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 2, the final day of our Jamaica Observer Online Study Center workshop. And today we are going into another subject, another very important subject, and I can say a subject that is my favorite, English language. And we want to thank you all for coming on. We want to thank our parents, our teachers, and our students of all ages because, as we know, learning never stops. And today we have Master Teacher Mrs. Sonia Lee that is going to take us through this English language series. I'm your host, Shamar Watson, and we want to give a big thank you to our sponsors, that's Sagicor Jamaica, Tasty Limited, and Phase 3 Productions. So now we're going to hand over to Miss Lee as she takes us through the rest of this session.
Good morning, everyone. After such an illustrious introduction, I am trusting that we can get going, and I'm trusting that we'll use the time very, very well. As our moderator said that this is a session for English language. He said it's one of the important. I beg to differ. Yesterday you met Mr. Hilton. Well, today I want to let you know that the mere fact that we're talking speaks to you of our English language. So I'm glad you're on board, and we are going to be working for some time today in getting that one for English language. Behind me there's a board, and I put English and I left the rest of it. I therefore want to start at the very, very beginning to let you know that when we mark, apart from being a teacher and a marker and working as a consultant for this subject, and being just a little bit older than you, I think I want to just share some of the experiences to make sure. But I might have to go back a little as we look at the year last year. Now, by this time, when you're joining with us, your SBA would have been completed. Don't bother tell me you didn't hand in your final draft yet. Your SBA should have been completed. All the group members would have submitted, and if your teachers have your SBA, it means that you're on your way already to be scoring that grade 1, because you know that 20% of that grade will speak to the fact that you have a grade 1 in English. So let's go. Now, parents, if you are watching, you know English is not the English you knew some time ago, because a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, the syllabus was shifted, the manner in which English was done was changed, and now a student is not allowed to pass English language by himself or by herself because there's an SBA component. What? Yes, there's an SBA component, and the component is group work. Oh my God, and I don't like group work. Hush, never mind. You're going to have to learn to love it, and the group work will take care of your SBA. Now that group work will give you 45 marks. And of the 45, over 22 or 23 of those marks come from the group. You therefore need to make sure that you establish a good relationship with the group members. And as you know, you choose a common topic, and you have your individual, you have a common theme, and then you have your individual topic and you work on it. But that's water on the bridge by now, because as I said, that has gone in. The fact is, now, as I said, we would have gone back a little bit to 2020. What happened in 2020 is still happening now in terms of the COVID. But CSEC decides say COVID or no COVID, them not giving an exam like they gave last year. So last year, because of the situation and the novelty of the situation, we had to resort to paper 1 and your SBA. This year, CSEC is coming with a vengeance. So all of you who are sitting this year will have paper 1 and paper 2 and the SBA. So you know that English is assessed by these 3 papers. The SBA would have contributed its 20%. Paper 1, those 60 multiple choice questions, are kind of giving you a little break from the multiple choice questions this morning, because you would have spent over a year working through that medium. The paper we are going to talk about largely is that paper 2, which is a section you really don't like because it's extended writing. Oh my God, miss, why maybe couldn't do it last year? Because if you did it last year, you would have been asked to do just the 60 multiple choice question. And you remember they sent for every SBA, so they looked at your reflections. That gave them an idea of how you would have done your extended writing. But I want to leave the SBA aside now, and I want to see if you have not yet handed in your SBA, then very quickly fix it up and beg your teacher to take it, because it should have gone in already, because he or she will have to do the final moderating before that is sent in. So what we're looking at this morning is how are we going to pass the subject. Now let me just tell you this. If you took a break last year, and these now, it's not only for those of you in the classroom. I know, I'm aware, because I teach some adults too. There are some persons who are doing the exam and you are not in class. Well, you talking about SBA like that, miss, like we are not person. You are doing the third paper. And that third paper is also made up of the components that we have in the SBA. So you're kind of doing the SBA, except that you have to sit it. Now, some persons, unfortunately, didn't get English the first time they did it. They didn't get a grade 1, 2, or 3. Or some people got a grade 3 and decided that is not what they're going to live with. They are going in for the grade 1. But maybe your mistake, he said, no, miss, no. I do it more than 1 time. I do it 2 times. And those of you who do it 5 and 6 times, I couldn't talk about that. But I am repeating the exam, and miss, I really am frustrated because I'm repeating the exam and I'm getting the same grade 4 and so on. Well, maybe you are making the same mistakes. Maybe you are making the same mistakes. And one of the issues that we are going to have to correct is that although CSEC sends you a report to say which area you did well in, CSEC has not really told you the details. So you may have your section in the expression, you got a D for expression. It means that that D for expression, everywhere you worked in writing, that's your summary section, your expository section, your short story section, and your persuasive or argumentative section. All those 4 sections could have contributed to what they want to call the expression. No, miss, ICMD me get it no matter what me do. The fact is you may be just doing something wrong and we need to look at it. So English is not a subject that you can say, all right, maybe get a grade 3, so me I go do it, and you know, do no practice, but you are, well, fortunately you are at this workshop, and then you walk into the exam, you're going to feel, you're going to fail, because it means you're going in with the same issues. You have not fixed them, and so you are going in with them. So what you need to do to be focused on the subject is to look where you are assessed. Now, all of you are in school, and just about everybody who is doing the exam. The teacher who teaches has got to send to CSEC what they think you are going to do. It means that we send up a list of students and what we think their grades will be. So where we get those grades? You think we just make it up? For all of you, we come offline and do our homework and only turn up when you're supposed to get lunch and all of that. Your teacher is going to say that they think the grade is going to be 4 or 5 or at best 3. Because what they have to do is to look on the work that you have submitted, listen to the discussions that you have joined in class, and then they will do their assessment and say, by the work you have done, we are expecting a grade 1, a grade 2, or so on. So I can't just get up in my mind and decide that Jeremiah Tokolo don't come on my class, him not dep online, and so him going to get a grade 7. They may even have 7. You understand me? What I'm going to do is to look at how he has participated, to look at the history of his grades, to look at how he handles interpretation, does his homework. And then I look at that and I say, you know, this certainly is going to be a child who is going to can't get less than a grade 1. All right, if I look and I see that there are no writing skills or very little writing skills, I am going to make that assessment, and I'm going to base it, maybe I'm going to say a grade 2 based on what. But there, I don't know that there are any teachers at all. There is not one teacher that I can find who will send to tell CSEC that this child deserves a 4. And you have your work that you can prove that you can do. So you have to focus on the fact that you have done something and that the recommended grades, because CSEC look at those things, you know. CSEC look at, Miss, I have a friend and the teacher did tell him, say I'm going to get a 7 and the boy get a 1. Hush. Oh, we don't blame you. It's compliments of the English department, you get your 1. But the fact is, that is why you now have to move on to the university and you have to do English again. Or when you get to 6th form, you're going to have to do communication studies because your skills in English are not so very good. So we have to work on improving those skills. All right? Now, I kept a check. You know that exam begins the 14th of June. And you know that English, especially English A, is going to be one of the first ones. English B is following. You know when you are writing, and some of you may be doing the exam and you're in 4th form. And some of you are adults, you're really not in the classroom, but you do some lessons and you're going to do the subject. Don't make the mistake of signing up. English language is English A. English literature is English B. Oh, I have marked exam enough to know how people mix up those things. And sometimes they go to the center and there's no paper for them because they've never signed up for English A. Them sign up for English B, so they don't send no paper for you. All right? English B is the literature. We're putting that aside a little bit, and then we are focusing on how we get through the English A. So, in order to get through the English A, what I like to do, I sometimes give a quiz as to what happens in English A. And we are going to look at paper 2 this morning. I want to make sure that you know how it is that it happens. Now, sometimes when you look at past papers, you will see something, but remember that the exam has changed and the value for each section has changed. So you have to look at the year paper that you're looking at and look at the value. Now, some of you are saying that, Miss, I know my teacher don't teach comprehension, you know, my teacher don't come because she said no comprehension and will come on the paper. No, your teacher should teach comprehension, but there is no comprehension on paper 2. All the comprehensions now are placed in section in paper 1, and I will tell you how that runs. But for the paper that is going to test your analysis, your skills of writing, your skills of persuading, all those are featured in paper 2. So let us just look now. What happens in paper 2? First, you have 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's really 2.5 hours for the exam, but they give you 10 minutes in which to read. Now, I know some of you good friends, you know, because I've been teaching long before your grandmother was born. But I have some good friends. The moment them see an exam paper, you know, man, them pull out the pen and they start to write and they start to give answer in the middle of the paper, they realize something. What I want to let you know is that you are to read the entire paper. There is a little paper that we sometimes give to students, and it usually carries about 15 questions or so, sometimes even 10. And the first 5 questions will ask you bio details, but the instructions will say to you, read this paper entirely before you begin to answer. But question 1 says, what is your middle name? Everybody know that, so everybody write your middle name. Question 2 says, give your gender. Question 3 will ask you something that is nominal and something that everybody knows. Question might go ahead and ask you, what is the color of the Jamaican flag? What is the motto? They might just ask you, who is the current prime minister? They might just ask you for the first line of the pledge. And you know all these things, you know, and so you're writing and you're writing. And then you get to question 19 or something like that. If it's 20 questions, they will say to you, do question 1 and no other question. That time everybody want one new sheet of paper because they never did the first instruction. Its instruction said, read all the questions before you begin. If you did read all through it, all you would have done, I write your name and put on your pen, because that is what question 1 says. But CSEC is like that. They believe in giving instructions, and you follow the instructions in order to make sure you have maximized all your efforts and you're going to get the subject. So we need to be reading the instructions. So section 1, we have our summary skills section, and that now is 25 marks. Remember, we changed from 30 to 25 marks. Section 2 is that section where we always had 2 comprehensions, but that section is changed. There's no comprehension on paper 2. Paper 1 has the comprehensions. And what I'll do is that when I give you a rundown of paper 1, I'll tell you how the comprehensions are placed. Then, in the section where we normally have the comprehension, we now have a section that we call the expository section. That is a section in which they give you information. Sometimes you get 5 lines of information. Sometimes it runs into 6 lines or so. It gives you information and then it sets a question. Here is what the question will say. They want you to use a format. Either send an email, send a letter, make a report, write a memorandum, send an email. I said email already, but some form of writing where you use the information that you are given. And that is why it is called expository, because you're not supposed to make up anything. You're supposed to use the information that you were given and you are to write a document. They will tell you what the document is. Students, that section does not carry a word limit. And that is where a lot of students get into trouble, because they think because there's no word limit, they can just write a paragraph. We know that business letters are not long, but the fact is this section carries the most marks, 30 marks. So if it gives you 30 marks, students, trust me, we just did a summary with 120 words and got 25 marks for it. Section 3. 3 is the story writing section, and that is 400 to 450 words, and you only get 25 marks for that. So how you want to write 1 paragraph for the expository section and get 30 marks? You have to use that. Now what we've worked out over the years is that when CSEC sends a story for us to write, they said they want 400 to 450 words, and they give us 45 minutes. We watch that and we say, it seems like for every 10 minutes, they want 100 words. So we sort of practice that. Now to reinforce that, when we get to section 4, section D, they want persuasive writing or argumentative. And they want 250 to 300 words. And they give us 30 minutes. Seems to me like 30 is 1/10 of 300. So on the same paper, 450 words, 45 minutes. Next paper, 250 to 300, 30 minutes. Then the section that they give you without word limit for 30 marks, for 30 minutes, seems like we are to come to close to 300. One of the tips that we give to you is that you try to answer everything they ask And when you answer everything they ask, you should be near 250 words minimum. You should be near that. Now, because it's expository, we don't expect you to create information that they don't give you. They give you details. And sometimes you have to wonder, why? No, students, if they give you the address for somebody, and if they give you the name for somebody, his position for somebody, and you are to send a report, then my mind tells me, say, if you have the name, the mailing address, and the position, they want a business report. They want a report that is going to come through the business letter. Why else they would give you 2 addresses? Why else they would give you the format that you need for a business letter? So you write your report the business letter style. So you look carefully at the instructions. Look at what you are told. Focus. And that is where you have. Now some of you will tell me, Miss, can't study English. I might agree with you there. You practice English. And some of the times, I have to warn you that you don't practice some of the exercises that are online and are American. You have to switch your computer to the fact that you're looking at English. American English is different from the English that you do. You remember how you spell color? You spell color C-O-L-O-U-R. The American English does not do that. And that is just one little bit of example. You know that there are some rules, they tend to be reactive in their English. And those of you who are doing SAT, you will understand what I mean, because you will find that the conventions are different. So, no matter use your computer and type in color and type in the American spelling for color, and then when me mark you down for spelling, you say, that means I did my spell check. You did it based on the American system. You need to look at the British system. That's where our English comes from. And so so when you are practicing and you know that spelling can come on paper 1 of English and you have no error, and then the instructions on paper 1 says, check for spelling errors. And you see neighbor and you put no error. Neighbor spell wrong. It is only like that because you're using an American system on your computer, so it does not recognize the spelling error. So you have to know that. You have to practice that. You have to make sure that what you're doing. You know, last night I listened to the news. And while I listened to the news, I said, you know, I could send all of you students to listen to the news and identify grammar errors. It would help you in paper 1. But the fact is, you have to be able to recognize when they go wrong. When I was growing up, and that was just the other day, so don't bother come say nothing, right? When I was growing up, if they made a grammar error, they would stop and they would apologize. Well, it's a new thing now, and it's not COVID caused it, because they've been doing it so. No matter what grammar errors are made, nobody says anything. So I wonder sometimes if they know. Now, the fact is that you who are listening, you hear it and you keep thinking it is right. So when you see it in the exam, you don't think anything is wrong. All right? When you have the subjunctive case and you says, if he was here, it's wrong. If you're going to use if any at all, you have to follow up with a plural verb. If he were here. And yet you do it in the foreign language, you know. You just don't think that it belongs to English. Those are some of the things we check you for in your continuous writing as well as in your multiple choice. Understand also that sometimes when some of you are doing an extended piece of writing and you go upon you go check, you take a nice piece, you read a story, man, and it's online, you get it, but you're not teaching on whatever something because, yeah. Once we get the story, we fix it on Grammarly. And Grammarly just send us where you got it. It tells us plagiarism in abundance. It identifies every spelling error. So you have to try now to do the exam on your own. Come offline and write it. You have to try because CXC is not going to give you. They are putting in every protocol for you to do the exam. At a popular school the other day, I went to do an exam, a face-to-face exam, when we could. You know, that we've been put on hold now. And we use a huge auditorium. And all the persons sat, observed their physical distance, wearing their mask and so on. You know, every minute we have to give a little mask break, but that was scheduled so that they breathe and put it back on. And the persons who were doing that exam, they had a hard time. They had to now remember that you're writing with your hand. You're going 2.5 hours. You have 10 minutes for checking. You are answering the question you are asked. You're not telling us what you know. You are sitting up properly. You're not at home anymore. So these are some of the things you've got to have to do, and you're going to have to make sure that you are back in the mode for exams. This situation of having classes online can give you a false impression of the exam that you're about to do. Try to remember that we are going to have to come out and we are going to have to face it. Now, normally, over the years, what would happen for the exam is that if you were given, no, you must have your timetable, and your timetable will have your ID number, it will have your center. But let us say that you were registered in a center. All right, let's say Observer they have a high school and an exam center. And so you are registered here to do the exam. If your timetable shows Observer Exam Center, and that's where you are to do it, but you come from Stony Hill, and when you were coming down, it started to rain, cats and dogs, started to rain, and then this big truck broke down in the way, and you can't pass. And your exam starts at 9. No student is allowed to pick up the exam half an hour after it has begun. So you start make a big fret. But when you are looking on, you realize on your way from Stony Hill that, let me see, Immaculate Conception High, you can see it, and you can come off of where you are and walk and go there. You can walk and go right over there, and you can bring your timetable and let them know that you are registered for the exam at another center, but the road has become impassable, and so you can't go. They have to give you the exam. They have to allow you to sit the exam there. So if there is an emergency, but no matter things say, if you wake up late, that's an emergency, you know, them now go make you go on to there. So. But the fact is, if there's an emergency, if there's a case where you can't get to the center, you can walk into any CSEC center, present your ID, and especially like it's English language, every center does English, every center, and they will allow you to do the exam, all right? That is, if you miss the exam because you are an hour late, that is your fault. Keep CSEC not giving you over, all right? But if there's a problem and there's a school nearby, you can go over and get it done. Now, this is a new normal that we are in, and some of the protocols that we would normally observe as we prepare for the exam, some of those you might think are different. What I want you to know that it's the exam, the means of taking it are going to be the same. The content might be a little different, but what you want to understand is the fact that in terms of your preparation, it has got to be the same and more. Now, normally when I stand in front of a class face to face, with all my gymnastics and with all my teaching methods, I deliver and I make sure if John look like him half asleep is down there, I'm going to touch him and open him inside. If Mary look like she plaiting out the end of her hair, I'm going out there to think that. But I can't do that now. I can't do that. And sometimes you need some of those things to keep you focused. You know, I learned a lot of the tricks, you know. You register in class, but you know did it. Your name is quite fine. Or when you're tired, you just send one note, come say, connectivity problem. I have learned because I work with a number of you. But for your good, I would suggest that you stay focused. How do I do that, miss? It is so difficult. Yes, I know. But what I want to let you know that those students who ask the questions, those students who participate, are those students who get their grade ones. Is that the grade one you can talk about, miss? Yeah. Grade one, grade two. If I have to mention a grade three, I think of 3 out of door. And I don't like lizards, so I don't focus on trees. So it's grade one, and if I have to, I'll think of grade two. But the fact is, you need to be aware. You need to be constantly. Do you know why CSEC teachers don't teach grade one in schools? The teachers who teach you for CSEC, they don't teach grade one. Grade one is an excellent grade, you know, and I respect all the teachers down there. As a matter of fact, I'm also a specialist in infant education. But if you continue to work in that area, when it's time for you to write a sentence that sixth formers will understand, you can't do it because you keep practicing at that level. And the same thing goes for you. If you keep writing the story that you wrote at third form or second form, you'll never be able to write the story to give you a grade one for CSEC. So step up a little bit. Step up a little bit. No, let me just tell you this. A good story don't mean big word. You understand? So nobody go swallow your dictionary and come put it out. Because as a marker, do you know how much time it will take me to honest? Because I have to be honest in terms of marking you. I have to be honest. So what will happen is that I know the word not fit the context, but I have to go look if since you go in the exam, then write one new dictionary and you now know a word that I don't know and it's fitting your context. So loading up your sentences with a number of big words don't help at all. All right? Let your ideas flow. Let your ideas flow. I want to let you know that you have to do a 5 minutes. Well, you would know that already. You had to do a 5 minutes presentation in speaking English. When you did your oral presentation, you were not supposed to use any patois, you know. You were not supposed to use Jamaican Creole. You were supposed to use standard English. Why do you think they do that? It's because they are now saying, they have been saying that although students can write the English, they cannot speak the English. And so when they move on to the university, they have problems in writing. Therefore, you can't write your story in a patois. You can't. What you're allowed to do, if you use dialogue, you can allow one of your characters to use the dialogue. But understand this, students. There are, what we have in com studies, we call it the continuum of language. You have acrylate, that is nearest standard English. You have mesolec, that is midway, you know, and you have basilec. You can't write basilec for some people can't read it. It's people, it's not computer mark, you're extended writing now. It's people like me. You understand? So when I get a paper that comes from Trinidad and they use their dialect, I have to be able to read the dialect and to be able to award the marks. When we used to mark face-to-face, because now we're marking online, as you know. When we used to mark face-to-face, all I did was to hold up my head and ask the other markers, any Trinidadian marker, can you tell me what does this mean in your Creole? No, students, if you are Jamaican students, those of you who are online and Jamaican, if you are writing in the Jamaican Creole, and it's another marker from another territory who is marking that, and you have the basilec, how under God's heaven they're going to give you a mark for that? If you are going to use dialogue, then you can use the mesolec, which means that we can recognize it. It's not standard English, but it is recognizable. But if you draw upon the Jamaican Creole and you use the Jamaican Creole in a way that you have to illustrate the stimulus that you got from CSEC, if we don't understand it, we don't understand it. And you know that we have some words in the Jamaican Creole. When it look like anything at all, it don't mean anything it looks like. So you have to be careful in terms of how you use the language, how you get the idea across. So dialogue is good, but you have to make sure that the language is recognizable. Also that you need to remember, once you start to write and you put in dialogue, what you have done is to impose on yourself a marking system, because now you have to punctuate it. Remember, every time somebody speaks, that's a brand new paragraph. Every time somebody responds, that's a brand new paragraph. How do you indicate the paragraphs? You indent and you use your open and your close quotation mark. No, if you are going to use dialogue and fill up one page, that's almost 250 words out of the 400 that you must do. We want to see the story. So, although the dialogue is good, because your story writing is not a report, you have to make things happen in your story. You don't tell me that there was a car crash. No, man. You say the car came around the corner, careened over the edge, the driver twisted the steering left and right, but it seemed to be in no avail. Within seconds, it turned into, as of its own volition, it turned into the wall and it made a greeting there. You see, that is the difference. I'm never give you a mark for all of that because you made it happen. When you say to me that the car crashed in the wall, you don't get nothing. From me to follow you, you don't get anything. You finish the story. But if you create it, if you let it happen, then when you have your speakers, you move away from your margin, you open your quotation mark, you close it when the person speaks, then you move on. Somebody answers, don't put it in the same line. Go to another line and get it done. Miss, we know that. I'm glad. I'm glad because many of the problems we have in marking that section, your 450 words, we have to go through and find out when you make somebody talk, when you make somebody respond. It's a lot of work and you lose marks. Did I say you lose marks? Of course you do. When we mark those things, we mark them on the content, that is what you have in there. We mark them on the organization, that is how you put it. You can't make the car crash up a paragraph 1 and then down at paragraph 4. You tell me who and who are in the car and what they were doing when it crashed. Tell me that first and then crash the car down at paragraph 4. So your organization. And we always say to you that one of the easiest ways of writing your story is a 5-paragraph approach. You have your introduction, you have 3 points in your introduction. Then your next 3 points, your next 3 paragraphs will deal with one of each of those points that you had in the introduction. And then you just wrap it up with your conclusion. That's your 5-paragraph approach. And you don't go back and whatever you said in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, you leave it in that paragraph. And then when you come to the end now, you wrap up. Well, I want to consider that is easy. Some persons might have some challenges, but if you stick to your 5-paragraph approach, you would have the organization done correctly. Then the next big mark you get for that section is expression. Oh yes, expression. It means that those of you who are constantly sending your emails, sending your WhatsApp, and you are used to spelling you with the letter U, remember say it don't have no place in your exam. You're going to have to break out of how you use social media to use the standard English. You're going to have to remember that tomorrow have O and W and R. It's not T and M and whatever way you shorten it. You've got to remember. And then when your brain starts sticking and you're writing fast, you have got to remember to write out the word. Those are some of the things that you need to know, that you need to remember in going in. There are so many areas that we need to encourage you to stick to. There are so many areas that we want to make sure You know that your papers are scanned. The papers used to go to Britain. I don't know that they've made any changes. But once you do your exam, they are uploaded, they are scanned. Now you see those margins on the page? I want to let you know that you are to write within the margin, because when it's scanned, it's only the things within the margin that is sent. When I get your paper, I don't get your name. I get a center number and I get the scan of your hard copy. Now, if you wrote in the margin, I don't get that part. I don't get that part, you know. And I have to mark you down now for what is missing or what should be there. And if you are there, because some of you, when your teacher tells you that, you explain to her, but you won't be there to explain to the marker. You therefore need to observe the space in which you write and make sure that it is there. So the examiner sees it and mark it. Now, as I'm on marking, some of you are going to have to do an emergency writing course before June 14, because me don't know any crap we have to will look like some people's writing. You have to learn to write. It's people marking it, you know, if they can't see it, what do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to phone you? We don't even know who you be. So you have to, all the gentlemen, all the ladies who have not formed your letters correctly, sometimes after you mark 450 words, you finally at the end of that paragraph recognize that, hey, is that E that student was writing all along? It means we have to go straight back up top and take out the spelling error that we had put in. Because as far as we are concerned, it's another letter and it spells wrong. So we have to go back. I want to encourage you to see how best you can write. And I know that as teachers, we tell you that you have to write in cursive or join up. But if we can't read it, you take my advice and you tell your teacher that is Mrs. Lee told you that. But if you can't write it in join up for us to read it, write it in script. As long as we can read it, write it in script, because your exam is at risk. Write it neatly. Now, let us say that you answered section B. All right, you answered section B. And when you answered section B, you never like section B at all. Never like how you answer it. And so you draw your pen through it. Students, if you didn't get a chance to do section B again, all right, you see the time is going, it's only 2.5 hours and the time is going. If you did not get a chance to do it, we have to look at section B and wish it well. We can't touch it. As long as you draw a line through it, it means it's tabooed. When they go through, whatever, we give marks. So let us say that you skipped section 4, you never do it at all. We have to write down no response. All right? So we usually use the terms NR and we say no response. You didn't answer that section. We can't put that on a section that you crossed out. If you crossed it out, we have to leave it as you have deleted it. So, if you're not sure that you can get to do it, as a matter of fact, if you can write it first, do that before you cross it out. Because if you cross it out and you don't get to write it, even though it's on the page and we can see it, we have to leave it there. We can't do it. All right? Now, here's one way that you punish yourself. You have some people always want to write over. You know that we run this exam for years, having people try it, and then we give you the time. It's not that somebody just come and say, all right, let me give them 2 hours because me like them. No, the method was tested and tried. And so, and that's why we give you a student who will write 450 words in 40 minutes. That student is given the mark. You will write 450 words, or you write 250 words, you have a great story. But we take away your marks because you are expected to do 450 in the given time. Now, given 2 hours more, you perhaps could have come up with the 450, but you don't have 2 hours more. And for that reason, we say to you, just go in there, read all your questions. Every question on section 1 is on section 2 is compulsory. Your summary is compulsory. Your expository is compulsory. Your story, you may get a pictorial that is a simulus, or you may get one. You choose one there. And then your persuasive, 1 question only, and that is compulsory. So what I want you to understand, she has spent so much time at that, because if you don't get it right, you would have failed the exam. Now sometimes we make it up on a paper where a student writes 2 essays. You can imagine? 2 stories. You know what happens when he writes the 2 stories, or when she writes the 2 stories? She doesn't get a chance to do the final section. So you punish yourself, because if you do 2 stories and they're perfect, you can only get 25 marks. There's another 25 marks that you should have gotten, but you didn't get to that section because you write the story 2 times. Then guess what happened? We have to read both stories and give you the better one. Yeah? We have to choose from the 2 you have. But you punish yourself already by losing the 25 marks for the section that should have come next that you should have written. So that is how you look at it. You make sure that you go through, turn your exam paper, turn it. At the end of each paper that you are supposed to do, it says, please turn over. At the end of each page, it says, please turn over. When the exam is finished, it says, end of paper. Until you see end of paper, keep turning. You know how many people come out of exam and leave 1 section undone? It's 4 sections, you must know that. Your paper 2 will tell you that it has all the front is loaded with instruction. You have to read. And if you're preparing for the exam, you know what to expect. Nothing has changed. 4 sections. A, B, C, and D, 1, 2, 3, 4. You find them. And when you finish, when you get to the last portion, it says end of paper. Not up till you reach at that section. Understand too that you have extra leaves. You're going to get a booklet, so you can't take anything out of the exam. And it will tell you extra paper needed. When you use the extra paper, you write on it, question 1 continued, or section 2 continued. You have enough paper in that booklet where you can continue anything you want on a brand new page. So if you're continuing with your summary, and you shouldn't, because we give you a little box in which to write your points, and then another one for you to write out the thing. But let us say that you are brilliant and you're Shakespeare and you can use a whole heap of words. When you get to the extra paper, indicate what question you are doing on that sheet of paper, so that we'll search the booklet, and we will find. We're reading a story and we just come to an abrupt halt. So we say, this student have a good story going, and then you go put roll on the back, pass all 3, 4 pages. And sometimes students do that. We have to find it. Make sure that you number it. All right? Going to be asking if we have any queries in the chat that we look, and we make sure that we can answer those too. But I want to be able to look at, to see how it is that you access that. All right? So we will be looking. I want to look very, very quickly at section 1 summary. Just a brief thing on summary. Please make a note of that. I know you have a booklet. I'm going to take that on in the in the second sessions we come up, but I want to be able to look. Remember, there was no section 2, no paper 2 last year. We're going to have to make sure that we are getting on. All right? We are going to have to make sure. So, the first thing that you will see in your booklet, apart from putting all your information in, when you open, the exam begins with a summary. The exam begins with a summary. I'm going to just put something on the board here. I just want for you to remember. I'm going to use the word summary as an acronym, and I want you to remember this as you face the exam, okay? I want for you to remember how you do the summary. I'm going to start perhaps the middle of the board. We spell summary with a S, then a U, we have M, we have another M. Okay, go down to the bottom. Don't look like my book going to hold everything. So we have summary, S-U-M-M-A. Going over the next side, then I have a R, and then I have a Y. So if I'm using the letters of the summary, this is how you make sure that you have the right thing. Now understand that it's 120 words. Nothing has changed from the requirement in the writing of the summary. They're always going to ask you, for the time being, 120 words. If you write 124 words, they stop reading at 120. It's very, very serious when it comes to the word limit in the summary. 101 words, 121 words, you might get away with that. But nothing that comes after the numbers that you're supposed to have is given any credit. So if the last sentence was not, was a way for you to wrap up the thing, you get no marks or conclusion. Try to stick to the word limit. So, S for summary. I'm going to remove my subject so that I can use up that section of the board some more. Okay? So, just for convenience, my S says stick to word limit. And you know the things that will prevent us. No repetition, no direct speech, no figurative language, no repeat of figures. You know all those things that you need to avoid. Using one word for 3 words, you're trying your best to stick to the word limit. Then, you say to me, but miss, glad so we don't have no comprehension for go answer no question. Yeah? You need that skill because the U says you must understand the original passage. So understand, you see, if you don't understand the passage, you can't shorten it. So understand the original passage. Okay? Now if you're going to tell me the story of Little Red Riding Hood and you don't know the details and you don't know that a wolf meet her, you don't know she was going to her grandmother's house, you don't know how to shorten your summary. And the fact is, if you just leave out some because you don't know that part, it is going to show in the summary. So understand the original, and usually the passage that they send is factual, it's expository. So read and see if you understand it. And when you understand, you will know not to put in anything that is repetitive and so on. All right? Then my first M is going to tell you the key factor for the summary. Main ideas only. Main ideas only. All right. We don't want any supporting details. We don't want you to retell the summary. You know, I met some summaries in exam that longer than the original passage. You understand? I don't know If students just get up and do it, well, I don't know. But these are some of the things that you need to remember. Okay? You stick to the word limit given. And I can put my word limit here as 120 because in all summaries, that's what they do. Then I understand the original passage. Then I take out my main ideas alone. And this is what the cardinal sin of writing the summary. Students will switch mode. First, they are telling me in third person what the summary is. Then all of a sudden, they switch mode and they're gone back into first person. You have to maintain. You have to maintain the correct mode. Now, what do I mean by that? Sometimes when you read a summary, a student will say, the writer in this passage speaks about the importance of speaking a foreign language. There was a summary the other day on being, on the wisdom of learning a foreign language, a second language, all right? So some students will begin with reporting generally. Then when they get down in the passage, they will just switch and don't bother tell you that is the writer who is saying it. They're just talking naturally. You have to stick to the correct mode. And by the way, you must remember, say, it's only one paragraph. Summary cannot be written in 2 paragraphs. It names summary. All the things that you have gotten in the original piece will speak to 1 paragraph. All right? So, what are we going to be doing with my R? I'm going to take, I have an A, I'm coming, only relevant material. Only relevant material. So don't bother put anything that is extra. Don't bother with it. Don't put anything that is extra. And then you have to remember that you speak in your own words as far as possible. Remember, when you take up the words like that, we charge you for something called lifting. It means that you took out some words that you could easily have replaced. I remember a summary, they were writing about a Chinese woman whose husband had died, and after he died, she was still very young, and a number of the men wanted to marry her. And in the passage, it said, the lady's name was Ma Moon Peng, and it says, Ma Moon Peng was still in the spring of her youth. Do you know that students write that back? Still in the spring of her youth? So we had to take down the fact that we assume you didn't know what it meant. She was still young, that's what you have to do. We don't walk around talking about, I'm still in the spring of my youth. No, we say I'm still young. And that's true for me too, let me just tell you, okay? So you have to find how to put in your own words, how to make sure to let the examiner know, I understand this, I've got this. I'm not borrowing your words, because when you borrow the words that you can use, we charge you for lifting. That's we take out the marks because you lifted. All right? And then why? As I said, your own words. No, you stick to your word limit. You understand the original passage. You maintain the main ideas only. You maintain the correct mode. And for your A, you add all the main points. Add all your main points in that order. All right? Now, when you do the summary, what I want you to understand, when you do the summary, what I want you to understand is the fact that it would have been written already. We would have done the answers. We would have taken the passage and we would have written. No, not all summary is going to sound exactly alike. What every summary has in common are the main ideas. Every summary has in common the main ideas. Students, what I want you to do, if you look at a summary that is written as an example, don't think that you have to have the same words, but you must have the same ideas. Now, we mark your summary on, for 25 marks, 5, content. Can I use up my board already? But content, expression, and organization. Now for content, they tell you expressly, they say to you, identify the points. They don't tell you how many, but we mark it out of 5. All your main points. Students, you must write them down. In order for you to get the marks, you have to highlight the given points. This, I can use this one. You have to highlight. I'm going to turn my back from you a little bit because I'm going to get my board ready. And I just want to show you how the content is placed. So once you have your summary. You know that it is continuous writing. You also know that it is one paragraph. It's one paragraph that you use. Students, it says continuous writing. That is what it says in the introduction. Continuous writing. What that I just want to add. We're going to answer, or I have to answer them, or we're going to put in the chat. Okay. Add all main ideas. All right, so now I just want to correct what is a common error. All right, students, just start writing the summary. Students, if you start writing the summaries like that, you are going to get 10 marks for expression and 10 marks for organization. Your 5 marks for the content will not be there. So for content, you list the points, 1, and you put whatever that point is. Then 2, you put that and you write down the points. Then 3, you write down the points. 4, and I would say to you students, try to get 5, all right? Don't repeat it. You can take them out of the passage and put them like that, or you can start from then and put them in your own words. Now the 5 points that you are going to get are the 5 points. I keep saying 5, but you must find the main points. We mark it out of 5. They are a part of the body of the summary. They are a part of the body of the summary that you are going to put as much as possible in your own words, that you are going to add to whatever main points you have, and try not to repeat. Okay? Try not to repeat. Now on a separate section, you have the content listed. The content is listed on a separate section, and then you move into your summary. Your summary, 1 paragraph. I cannot say that often enough, because students lose marks for organization when they try to put what they are writing in response to the summary, they try to put that in terms of different paragraphs. What you were required to do in the summary was you were required to take all the main points from the different paragraphs, and then you were to put it in one piece of writing, and then you finish. Now sometimes, I tell you, see, we have an Anansi history. You know, students write the summary, and they gone write over 170 words. And when them count it up, they put at the bottom 120 words. Not true. Like say we not go count it. Now I've been marking a summary long enough. As soon as I get to 80 words, I know, I stop. As soon as I get, when I see the summary finishing, we look to see whether or not you're wrapping up. When I take up a summary and I see a full page, I said, oh my God, I want to make sure that you understand that we're not marking beyond that point. So do students, this is 25 marks. You cannot afford to lose your 25 marks. You must make sure that your 10 marks for your expression, the expression must be yours. Remember where we say, as far as possible, put it in, that's the why of the summary, your own words. Now, where it's possible. Because if a passage says, learning a foreign language gives the benefit to 90% of the candidates who do it. Well, I don't know if you can substitute learning a foreign language, but you can, don't put the 90%, and you say the majority of students who study a foreign language know the benefits. That is your own words. But if they're going to give us something, let me go back to the story of Ma Moon Peng. If they're going to give us a story where you are saying Ma Moon Peng is in the sprint of our youth, the moment we see that, you're dead. Because it means that you have lifted. It also says to us, student does not understand the term. All right? So where they have technical terms and you can put it in your own words, put it in your own words. Do not spend time to explain. Now, let me go back to your SBA. Now, you remember Reflection 2? Reflection 2 asks you to identify language strategies. You're not to give us a definition for any strategy that you have used. You just move right onto it and say the writer has made use of rhetorical question. In paragraph 3, he asks, where should I get it? And who is responsible for this? Somebody is making a mess. Can anyone tell me who it is? You move on now to say these rhetorical questions capture the reader's attention and help the subject and brings the subject to thought. I never tell him what rhetorical question is. Your marker knows. So don't want to spend no time defining anything in your summary. All right? Your opinion is not necessary. We don't ask you for it. Don't put it. Just read the passage. Begin to highlight. You know you paid for that exam paper? Mark it up, man. You paid for it. Find the points that you are going to use. And then there is a box that we give you on the other page. Put the box to work. You will see that there is a sign that says you do not get any marks for this. That is treated as a rough work. But rough work is valuable. So try your best to do it. It's the first piece on your paper. Do it well. But just before I come out of the summary, understand you don't have to do it first. You don't have to do it first. You can do any section of the paper first. You just number chronologically. You just make sure that you have things going. If you really are in doubt, skip a line, skip a page, so that if you can go back. Some persons have their stories. You can skip a page, that if you go back to wrap it up, you have some space. You understand? Just make sure that everything gets done. Now, when we come back, we're going to use our booklet, and our booklet speaks to us of section B. So we are right into it. All right? We're going to make sure that you understand how is it that you get a grade 1 for this subject. So until I join you again, I'm going to take a break now, and you stay tuned as we continue.
Just a little girl, but I have big dreams. And one day, all my dreams are going to come true.
That's why I'm glad Mommy opened a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account for me.
It's the best gift she could ever give me. Because one day I won't be little anymore. And my small savings are going to grow big.
I even got my own debit card.
Give your child a gift that will grow. Open a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account today.
Good afternoon, parents, teachers, and students out there. Welcome to this section of the Jamaica Observer Lecture Series. My name is Laurel Webster, and I'm a branch manager at Sagicor Bank. And today I'm going to talk to you all about savings. Parents, I'm sure you'll agree with me that savings is very important. And the old adage that says saving for a rainy day still is relevant for us today. And saving really leads to us building wealth in the future. And what better way to start saving but with our young children? And so today I'm going to talk to you specifically about one of our products here at Sagicor Bank, which is our Star Savers account. Now, Star Savers Savings account was specifically designed for our young children up to adolescents, so that's from 0 to 17 years old. And that's really to teach you guys how to save. So parents and guardians, you can open those accounts for your children or your wards with a minimum of 200 Jamaican dollars. Pretty small, right? But I mean, every mickle makes a muckle, as our own Jamaican saying goes. Now, what do you need to open these accounts? So parents or guardians, you need your ID, that's any government issued ID, your TRN, your proof of address, which could be a utility bill. If you have your national ID or your voter's ID, we use that as well for your proof of address. Or if you have maybe a statement from another bank, and you need your proof of source of funds. So that would be your last pay slip or your job letter. And you need also to present the birth certificate for your children or ward, and the information for 2 references. So you don't have to take in the reference letters, you just need to have the information for the 2 references, and we will verify those. So that would be the reference, the name of the reference, their address, and their telephone number. And as I said before, the savings, you start with a minimum of $200. Now you may ask if you will have access to maybe getting a debit card where you can use the ABM machines. So what we do is up to 12 years old, you will not be allowed to use a debit card. Well, once your ward or your child reaches the age of 12, then parents, you can apply for that debit card for their account. Because remember now, once you're under 18, you're not able to have access to a debit card because you have not reached the age of 18 yet where you can sign a contract. And so the parents, you can now apply for the debit card where you'll have access to those accounts. Now, one of the benefits of the savings account is that there are no monthly fees and there's no fees to deposit. So once you start the account with your $200 each month, or whenever you plan on saving, you can add your little money when you get paid. You say, okay, I'm going to set this aside for my child or my ward, and you save for them so that at least when they start maybe going to college or for any eventuality in the future. They'll have their little start savings that they can launch out with. They start working now and say, oh, mama, papa had actually opened a savings account for me. Now I can build on that for my future endeavors or my future accomplishment, anything that I want to save towards in the future. And as I said before, parents, you would need your ID, your TRN, your proof of address, and your proof of earnings. And what you need for your ward or your child is their birth certificate. You can own these accounts by going into the branches, or you can go online at sagicor.com to start the application in opening these accounts for your children. Not more than ever, we have to teach our children to save. And I know that there are challenging times now, especially as we're actually going through a pandemic and funds are short. We have so many other things that we need to take care of. Parents may be earning less, but as I said before, every mickle makes a muckle. And we have to teach our children to save for a rainy day or to save toward what we need to achieve in the future. And that's the reason we're starting with a minimum of $200, which, I mean, even the child can save from their lunch money. So a lot of kids are now, school is out, so we're learning from home. They may get their, you may give them a little something to put aside, put it towards saving, because you're not really spending that much now. So, take that little bit that you would actually have for your lunch money or, for your bus fare or your taxi fare that you're not using now, and put it in the account and save up. You never can tell what may happen in the future, and you need those amounts, to actually, that you'll have access to. And most important, as I said before as well, the child up to age 12 would not have access to a debit card. But once a child reaches 12, then parents, you can apply for that debit card so you can actually access the account, whether through the ABM machine. But before 12, they can't. And the child herself or himself will not be able to sign for that debit card because under the age of 18, they can't do that. So that's our Star Savers account, specifically designed for our children in mind, and also for you parents, so you can say, okay, let me start saving for my baby from birth right up to age 17. So that's it really for me, just to say that you can go into any branch of Sagicor Bank right across the island and open your Star Savers account for your children and your wards. We look forward to seeing you. We look forward to serving you. And just to say to you guys, be safe out there, follow the protocols, remember to save for a rainy day. Thank you very much.
I am just a little girl, but I have big dreams. And one day, all my dreams are going to come true.
That's why I'm glad Mommy opened a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account for me.
It's the best gift she could ever give me, because one day I won't be little anymore, and my small savings are going to grow big.
I even got my own debit card.
Give your child a gift that will grow. Open a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account today.
And we're back, and we're at our giveaway section, and we're going to be asking some questions, and you're going to get the opportunity to win some prizes. Now, the first question I want to ask you guys is, what is the first thing you do before you start an exam? Mrs. Lee told us the first thing you do before you start an examination, and we're looking out for your answers on Instagram, on Facebook, and on our Livestorm platform. So, Mr. Miller got the answer correct. Read the instructions. All right, the next question is an observer question. We asked it yesterday, so if you're on yesterday, you'd say, what day is our online study center published? That's what day is our online study center published. All right, Tuesday. So we have a couple winners there that said Tuesday. Our online study center comes out on Tuesdays, so you guys can tune into that weekly. The next question is, what is the word limit for section J? 3, sorry, section 3. What is the word limit for section 3? That's in the English paper 2. No, that's not the answer. Also not the answer. No. No. 450? All right, so the answer is 400 to 450. So for those persons who said 400 to 450, or rather the first person who said 400 to 450 would have gotten that answer correctly. And the last question we have here is, what is the value of the last 2 sections of the paper 2 in English? The value of the last 2 sections of the paper 2. The last 2 sections. So the answer is 50. Shamar? Yes, always the Shamars. So Shamar got the answer correctly. So those are our questions for now. We're going to have some more questions at the end of the second part of the presentation to give you guys a chance to win more. Until then, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, that's Observer Clips, and follow us on all social media platforms at Jamaica Observer. And we, again, take the time out to thank our sponsors, Sagicor Jamaica, Tasty Limited, and Phase 3 Productions. We now hand over to Mrs. Lee so she can continue her presentation.
All right, everyone. I hope you give yourself a little stretch. Arms up, forward, backwards, up. Stick your legs out, and take a deep breath, and we are ready to go. All right? I'm going to ask you to take out your booklets for me at this time. I'm going to ask you to take out your booklets, and I'm going to ask you to join with me. I wish I could ask you somebody to read a section, but I'm going to ask you to look at the first page. Want to just spend a little time on that, since we are sort of continuing the paper 2. So from your it says that if you are looking at the section, it says a quarterly business meeting of Food and Factory Association was held the 26th of January 2019 at St. Francis Hall at Belize University. The meeting lasted 2 hours, after which refreshment was served. Now, Dr. Philip Douglas, the current president, resigned as a result of poor health, and nominations were taken for candidates for the position. Now, a check of $35,000 was handed over to a representative of House of the Indigent. And then you are asked to write the minutes for that meeting. Before I get into what they are marking you for, I want to remind you that this section, Section B, is what we call the expository section. And this section gives you information and asks you to put it in a particular format. Now, they want for this format a business, a meeting, a minutes that was held. Now, what is called the minutes of any meeting? It's the record of whatever happens in a meeting, all right? And it's called minutes because it's detailed. You basically go minute by minute, and then you use your summary skills and you record what happens. Now, what I want you to understand is that you're given 30 marks for this section. I want to show you how the 30 marks are broken down. You have C for content, but we normally just put on your paper CEO. So for content, we give you 10 marks. For E, that is expression, and our expression for this one is 10 marks. And then finally, we have O, and it's our organization, and we have 10 marks. So each section, this paper is divided, the total marks are 30 as you would do. For those 30 marks, they are weighing the content as heavily as they weigh your expression. They are looking at your organization, and then they will give you the point. Now, the minutes, how you write a minute, you record how your meeting had started. You record the date of the meeting, the time of the meeting, and you record who called the meeting to order. Now, a lot of you, before we had this situation, and even some of you who go virtual in order to make up, in order to have a good report as to when you travel and so on, you still do your clubs virtually. Now, in your clubs, you have your president, your vice president, you have your officers, and each officer has a special duty, a special role. Now, the secretary in that club, any club at all, records what happens. I don't know if you've ever watched a movie on television that carries a court scene, and there's always somebody who is typing away, who is writing away. That is the person you call the Clerk of Court. That person records the minutes of what happens. Now, you are expected to do the same thing. I'm going to ask those of you who go to church and your youth meetings, whenever you have a youth meeting, sometimes minutes would be read. You need to go back, but my teacher never teach me minutes. Your teacher doesn't have to teach you everything, every format that exists. All right? And your experiences can also help you. So when I'm finished, you can Google and look at all the different forms. Because if you follow your syllabus, you know that they can ask us any format of writing. When I started this morning, I said to you that we could look at a number of different formats, and they will ask. Since this exam has come in, they've asked us for emails, they've asked us for business letter, they've asked us for letters of complaint, they've asked us for a report, and we would have had about 8 exams. Now this year we'll make 8, because we have 1 exam in January and we have 1 in May, usually. So 2 exams each year, and each time they ask for a format. You've got to be aware. You have to know what is an agenda, all right? You have to know what is a notice. You have to know what is a press release. You have to know the different forms of writing. This question asked you for the meeting. So basically, your meeting is going to say that your minutes would start with something like, the meeting of the Food and Factory Association was held on January 26, 2019 at the St. Francis Hall of the Belize University. Then you can say, the meeting was called to order by, and you give the president a name because you have the president name or so. And if the meeting lasted 2 hours, then you choose a time, but when you say the meeting came to an end or the meeting was adjourned, you must make sure it says only 2 hours of activity that go on. All right? So your minutes are written in paragraphs All right? It's written in paragraphs, but there are some things that must be in a minute. You must have the calling to order of the minutes, of the meeting. You must have who did the calling. You must have a roll call. You must have apologies for absence. You must, well, they basically give us an idea of the agenda that was in the meeting. You must have the reading of the last minutes, confirmation of the last minutes, and once it's confirmed, it's because there are no corrections. So you have confirmation of the business, then you have matters arising. So anything they read in the last minutes, they will pull out some matters. After they've dealt with the matters arising from the minutes, then they will move on to new business. Once new business is dealt with, then you have what is called any other business. And if there's no other business, you move on to the adjournment. Now, if you look in the passage here, want me to run that again? Let me do that very slowly. You have the calling to order of a meeting. You have how you call it to order. Is it that you did prayer, or you had a pledge, or is there a special prayer that the group says? Whatever format. You say it was called to order, you give where the meeting was held, you give where the time, when it started, when it was called to order, and by whom. After that, you move into your welcome. You welcome persons to your meeting, and you can now turn over to the secretary, who will read the last minutes, but she'll also mark, I'm assuming it's a lady, she will do the roll call, and sometimes roll call is not done like you do it at school. All right, the secretary is usually aware of those persons who are present, and without interrupting the meeting, she can just mark those who are present. Apologies for absence are tendered, and then she will be asked to read the minutes. Now, the minutes are written in the past tense because they are a record of the meeting that was held before. Once she reads the minutes, you ask for a confirmation, and then the person who is moderating your meeting will ask matters arising from the minutes. Now, you have some troublesome members, no matter what you do in a meeting and you finish it, they will come back to the next meeting to ask, one question please. In the last minutes, you said that we were going to be served refreshment. What is the plan on that now? How far have we gotten to? And the president or whosoever is moderating will have to say, yes, that came up in the minutes, but we also had in the minutes the fact that if we got some funding, well, I must unfortunately report to you that unfortunately we did not get any funding. So no refreshments will be served. Grumble, grumble, grumble. What was that? What was that? He says, oh, okay, that is matters arising from the means. So are we going to pursue the matter? Well, we can ask the secretary to make a note that we will try other sponsors in order to get some refreshment. So once a matter was in the minute and it was dealt with, you move on, and then you move on now to new business. Now, I am going to be looking in this and to see where it is that what will come. New business, and after new business, you ask any other business. There's no other business. You close the meeting. All right? Now, for this one, we know who is having the meeting. That is the Food and Factory Association. We know when the meeting was held. That is the 26th of January 2019. We know where the meeting was held. St. Francis Hall at the Belize Hospital. Now, we knew the duration of the meeting, but they didn't give us any time that it started. So what we're going to do is that we're going to say the meeting started at 8 or probably 7. You can decide that. Then it says the current president. So we would have said that he is the person who called the meeting to order. But he would call the meeting to order, and then he would ask the secretary to read the minutes. But when it comes to new business, we find out in this question that the president is suffering from poor health conditions. I mean, I don't know if it's COVID he did have, because this did said before. All right? But he's resigning. So that's a new business. That is what you would have to put there. And after his resignation, they ask for nominees to request the position. So nominations were taken and that would have been recorded. Now, it did not say that any voting went on for the nominees. So that is not in the minutes. Another new business was the fact that $35,000 was handed over to the representative of the home of the indigent. All right, so the club made that contribution, and that would be in your minutes as well. So that would format, all right, that would give you the correct format for the business letter and what you would have put in there. I want to, I don't know if you have any questions, but I want to move quickly because I also want to be looking at, if you look at your letter of complaints on page 4, if you look at your letter of complaints, again, it says that you would know what the letter of complaint has. It says you are to write a letter to the principal of your school in which you complain about the computer lab at your school. All right, and for 30 marks, they say you must describe. So you know if you're writing a letter of complaint, you must have 2 addresses. Are you going to use the block style? If you're using the block style, then all your addresses will come down on the same side and your salutation will come down at your same side. Remember, when we're writing a business leading, you can't ask anybody, how are you? You can probably say to your principal, good day, and that is it. No long fancy greetings, no wishing you no Merry Christmas, no wondering when it's Labor Day for you to get a holiday from school. Just good day. And you can put good day, sir, or good day, ma'am, depending on the gender, but good day full stop is what we would require. Sometimes you don't even need a greeting, all right? Sometimes you don't need a greeting, but you can keep it to the formal thing and just say good day, sir. What is your purpose? You're writing this letter in complaint of the situation of the computer lab. So you state that very clearly. But when you state that, you can't leave it like that because the gentleman don't know what you, or the principal don't know what you're complaining about. As far as the principal is concerned, the lab is fine, okay? But your complaint is going to now highlight some issues that you have with it. It says you must describe the problem, state the concern that you have, express your dissatisfaction, and then you must recommend how to fix it. You see, each of these things, each one of those things that is expressed here carries a mark. And so you don't get the mark if you don't describe the issue. You can't just say the computer lab is in a deplorable condition, sir. I am sick and tired of going in it. Yes, but you must tell the gentleman or the miss what is deplorable about it. So you can say, sir, this is my 4th year or my 5th year at high school. And although I enjoy many of the different amenities, the computer lab, the only computer lab in the school, is in a state of disrepair. I must therefore explain to you my displeasure. So first thing in here now, 2 things that I'm already, you know. One number computer lab them have for the whole school, and it's 5 years already there. And the next one is that it says that it is in a state of disrepair. So you are going to now say, sir, of the 1,500 students who are enrolled in the school, all upper school students do use the lab since it's compulsory. Lower school students visit the lab once for the week, but those at upper school go to the lab frequently. Sir, 35 computers are woefully inadequate for a school with over 1,400 students. In addition to which, these computers are outdated and a number of them malfunction. You see what I'm talking about? Already now we're looking at the numbers, the few numbers. We are looking that they don't work very well. We are also looking that they are outdated. You can find situation. But when you're doing a complaint, it would be good to highlight one good thing first, and then you put down your litany of woe. Now, once you go down and you name that, it says that you are to make 2 recommendations as how to resolve the issue. And so after you tell them about the few computers and the poor working condition and the malfunctioning and the poor plugs and the inadequate spacing and all sorts of things that you can, realistic problems, then you say, sir, I know that we have a vibrant past student association, and I would suggest that we make it a project in asking this association to help to donate computers. We can also, so you can spend a little time explaining how that would work, and then you find another solution, all right? So you say if a small fee could be added to each student's school fee that goes towards a computer fund. By the time a student gets to 5th form, there should be enough to purchase computers, something like that. Because they want to know, are you just complaining? Do you have any idea as how to fix these problems? They want to know that you have analytical skills, all right? So that will give you your content. Now, you're never rude in a letter of complaint, all right? You serve an ultimatum, all right? You serve an ultimatum. You need to understand that you can't say to the principal, if you don't fix these computer lab, we are going to report you to the Ministry of Education. No, you can't. What you need to do is to say, a situation like this can result in all students failing the subjects that are based in IT or something like that, okay? So you can say, you know, could it be, is there a possibility that students will know it different? Because you would have said, can we take our own devices and have device day? No, you can't have school without your device. You can't have school without your device. One of the questions that we had just before we went on break was whether COVID would come on the exam. I want to hasten to tell you no, because the exam was set before COVID. But in order to be relevant, if you saw the January paper, you would notice that nothing, and get the past papers. The January paper didn't ask us anything at all about COVID, all right? CSEC has to do a bank. They have to pay for the questions and then format the papers. If you have a situation where the exam was leaked and they saw it immediately, they scrap that exam and they can pull another one. But it's not easy to set an exam foolproof and to make sure that the material is new. So I'm not expecting anything on COVID. But let us say they want to be relevant and they pulled the section 4. Your section, it could only be in section 1 or section 4 that you could get something on COVID. Section 1 could be a summary exercise as to about a document on COVID, or section 4. But you can't, you would have to put COVID in section 3, where you are expected to write a story. You can make your people in your story of COVID, all right? But I am not expecting any. I know that the exams are set beforehand, so it could be a situation. But all the knowledge that you have, make sure, read up, know, be aware, all right? Be aware of that situation. We want to make sure that you understand, how is it that you go into the exam. And section 4, when you are writing your persuasive, you can use statistics and so on, you know. The statistics don't have to be true, but they have to be realistic. If you are going to say 90% of the graduates from the university are men, that is an outright lie. So you can't use that. You don't have to know the right percentage, but there's a larger percentage of women graduating than men. So you have to make your statistic match the situation, even if you do not know the exact figure. All right? I'm hoping that you understand that. All right? I think there may be a question on this area, so let me just see if I can deal with it. They're not, oh, you're not seeing, I noticed that somebody's saying that they're not seeing the questions uploaded. If you're using the, it's 2020, you know. If you look in the workbook and you follow the paging that I give to you, you should be able to find it. All right, the first question I dealt with was one on the first page, and it had to do with the minutes. All right, so your workbook, yours would say 2020, and you should see that. All right, if you skip a few pages in, then you should see, I went to page 4 after that, and on page 4 I looked at the letter of complaint. You should be able to see that. I just send us, you see the pages are there and they are numbered, so just keep going, and that's why I tell you the number. Now page 6 has to do with the letter of application. And then page 9, you will see something on persuasive writing. All right, just follow closely and you should be able to do that. All right? Now, you have the questions. And so if you looked carefully and there's a question that you have, you can pose it. But the last section is a section that I will have to go through sentence by sentence. And I want to get there because I want to speak of the effectiveness of that section. So I'm going to give you a minute or two now, and I'm going to ask you to go through your booklet. Go through your booklet and identify a question or a concern so I can address it for you. All right, I'm going to pause and you do that for me right away. You can go from page 1 right around any section. Remember, I'm going to be looking at the last section, those 15 sentences, but you can go through your booklet and go right up to page 10. I don't think we numbered the blank pages on which you can write. But you can ask any question at all on any sections. Even if I don't get to that section yet, you can still ask. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to allow you to ask so I can address it. We want this to be really beneficial to you. Okay? Okay, now what you are seeing at the front, let me just, I have your booklet with me now. Okay, and you have some, you have paper 1, you have some short answers there. Okay. All right. Now in the section where you have recognition of error, can you just check that for me? Recognition of error. All right, can you just give me a thumbs up that you are there? Just want to make my page a little bigger. Oh, just give us a minute there. We are checking on what you're asking. So in your booklet, are you seeing the recognition of errors? Okay. No, your first sentence is saying he did not notice. He did not take notice of nothing as he walked down the corridor. Is that what you're saying? As what you're saying? Recognition of error. The first one, he did not take notice of nothing as he walked down the corridor. Just want a little confirmation that that's where you're at. All right, I think I'm getting that confirmation now. Okay, now I want to be joining you on that. I want to be looking at, we have 20 sentences, and I want to run as quickly as possible just to make sure that we are seeing the same thing. Okay? Now, sentence one asks, says he did not take notice of nothing. Now that is double negative. Double negative. Correct thing should be he did not take nothing. He did not take notice of anything. All right? Okay, my second sentence says Simon Jones is one of those rare figures who puts service to humanity before self. All right? Now that one, we are going to look at the verb puts. Subject-verb disagreement. It should be put. It's one of those figures who put. Simon Jones already has the verb is. So it is the rare figures who put. So that one is where it's at. We need to correct that verb. The next one says, I always prefer coffee than tea. We have a wrong preposition in that sentence. It should be, I always prefer coffee to tea. Not than, but to. Sentence 4 says, members of staff and their family had sole monopoly over the recreation park. Now, you know, guys, monopoly means you alone. So sole, S-O-L-E, means one again. So it's repetition. Sole and monopoly makes each other redundant. So that is the error in that sentence. Sole and monopoly. And the next one says, the little boy was killed in a fatal accident. The little boy was killed in a fatal accident. I know you got that one right. Because if he was killed, then the accident was fatal. So, the little boy was involved in a fatal accident, but you know him dead. Okay? So, if we are going to take out fatal because he was killed, fatal and killed will make each other redundant. Want to let you know that sentence 6 says, every girl is expected to wear a colored ribbon in her hair. Her, not their hair. In her hair. All right? Remember that the subject is every girl, so it's every single girl. So the pronoun cannot be there. Must be her hair. The next one. Prisoner had not a ghost of a chance in his bid to escape from the maximum security prison. Now, you know that there's a section that tells you about cliche. So, ghost of a chance is a cliche. Moving right along, we want to be looking at the children died because they had taken large doses of a potent drug which was left within their reach. So, is that sentence acceptable as stands? Let's look. The children died because they took large doses of a potent drug that was left within their reach. So we are fixing our tense in that one. Moving right along, in her spare time, my mother likes knitting, gardening, and sometimes to babysit for her sister. Now you have to look at all the verbs need to be parallel. So in order to fix that one, we would have to fix, in her spare time, my mother likes knitting, gardening, and babysitting for my sister. All right? You can't have knitting, gardening, and like to take care of. You have to have knitting, gardening, and babysitting. Next one. News of Hurricane Matthew's impact on the countries in the Caribbean was broadcasted by all radio stations. Just want to let you know that broadcast has no past tense, all right? Or the past tense of broadcast carries the same shape as the present tense. So it's not broadcasted, it's broadcast, all right? We want to now be looking at some food here, man. It's time for you to eat some food. It says, I really like curry chicken. I would have it for dinner every day. But students, you don't like curry chicken. You have to like curried chicken. You have to like fried chicken. You have to like boiled breadfruit. You have to like stewed plum. You can't like curry chicken, boiled dumpling, stew rice. No, it has to be in the past tense. The method in which you cook it has to be in the past tense for you to describe it. So you have curried chicken. When you go KFC, what you get? Kentucky fried chicken. So sometimes you go into some restaurant and you see them have fried chicken for sale. That means that the chicken run out of the kitchen and fry something. No, it is fried chicken, fried dumpling, boiled rice, stewed plum, and stuff like that. So we like curried chicken. Now the amount of persons who attended the meeting at the town hall was more than we expected. Let me carry you back to amount and number and many and much. Remember that if you can count, then you have to use number. So the number of children who attended, all right, or the number of cars that was on the road. You can say amount of traffic, because you can't say we have one traffic at Papine, one traffic at Halfway Tree, and one traffic at Portmore. No, but you can say you had one car here and one car there. So it's the number of cars, but it's the amount of traffic. So we don't want number of people. We don't want amount of persons. We want number of persons. Then, as we are coming down, while drinking his beer at the counter, the bee stung the man. Now, this is really hilarious because in this sentence, it is saying, while drinking his beer at the counter, who was drinking the beer? The man. The bee stung the man. So bee can't sting beer, man. Bee cannot drink beer at the counter. What we have there is a dangling modifier. So it's a grammatical error. So what you want to say, while he was drinking his beer at the counter, the man was stung by the bee. All right? If you put it like this, it means that it is the bees. And I don't know which bar you can go see bee drinking. All right? We have a dangling modifier. And when we fix it, the sentence will be fine. The man, while drinking his beer at the counter, the man was stung by the bee. Then we are looking at almost all the persons to which I have spoken favored the new proposal for salary increase. The pronoun which should never be used with people. The dog which, the bird which, the people who, the man that. So it's wrong pronoun which shouldn't be used with people. And that is W-H-I-C-H. All right, the W-I-T-C-H now. You can call that one, you can use the W-I-C-H with that which. But if you're talking about people, you have to use the pronoun who, You have to use the pronoun that. You don't use the pronoun which. Then number 15 says, my salary is lower than a caretaker. Then that's not right, man. That's not right. Oh, you're going to get your salary to be lower than a caretaker. The caretaker low? You would have to put on an apostrophe S, that your salary is lower than a caretaker's apostrophe S, meaning a caretaker's salary. All right? It means that we've left off a word, but we have left the sentence in a way to tell us that we're speaking about the salary. So your salary is not lower than a caretaker, because what you're saying is that the money you get for pay is lower than the man. But that's not what you really mean. You really mean that your salary is lower than a caretaker's salary. If you put the apostrophe, then you don't have to put the word. Salary. So an apostrophe S is needed at caretakers. Then number 16 says, the top coach of the bus accommodates all the luggages the passengers take with them. Students, there's no plural form for luggage and baggage and furniture and sheep and deer. You say the bus has luggage, we've packed our baggage, never baggages, never luggages, all right? And I'm telling you that you can hear it anywhere it's wrong. You tell them isonally, tell you it's wrong. In the same way, you learn from grade 2 and 3 that you don't have sheeps and you don't have deers, all right? It's the same. You don't have aircrafts, all right? Plural of aircraft is aircraft. And I've heard in influential circles, people talking, this is wrong English. You don't have baggages, you don't have luggages. Want to pluralize them? You say pieces of baggage, or pieces of luggage, or pieces of furniture. Is that good? Right. Now let's moving on to the other two. It says, no sooner had the rain started when the roof caved in and landed on the children who were inside the house. Once you use the phrase no sooner, you will have to use than as a preposition. You will have to use than. So no sooner had, then you move on to than, okay? No sooner had than. The number 18 says, do you think that parents are to be blamed for teenage delinquency? And you should have are to be blamed. That's how you form that tense. Do you think that parents are to be blamed? That is how you do the correction for that one. And then I think the last one for this section says, when you are finished washing the dishes, you may take some time off for relaxation. Now, are is from the verb to be, all right? Now, you are not the washing of the dishes. So you have to use the verb when you have finished. To be means you're in a state. So this one is incorrect. And we say it all the time. When you finish, come here. No, it's when you have, not when you are finished, but when you have finished washing the dishes, you may take some time off for relaxation. I'm going to give you a minute to look at those, and then I want to invite you to ask the questions that you have based on those that we have just run through. There are some questions. Now, some persons are asking if we will be posting the workshop on the pages online. All right? That's your question. Some of you, yes. You will be posting it, so you will have that facility. You will have a chance to look at it again. All right? I want to make sure that you are where it's at with us. Want to make sure that you understand where we are going with this one. Okay? Now there is another. Can you just check your booklet for me? And just look at the back. Do you see an exercise on literary devices? Is there an exercise on literary devices? Just waiting. All right, so you do not have that, but you do have some more recognition of errors. You do have some more recognition of errors. Going to ask you all right, I'm going to ask you to go to your very first page. Your very, very first page. Meanwhile, I'm going to ask, since these are the short answer sections, I'm going to ask if you have any questions that are left that you want to ask on the extended writing. You can post those questions, we'll get back to them, but I want you to. But this time, I want to ask you to join me, and for the first 5 questions, I want to see what is it that you would have chosen for the first 5 questions we have on your the first page. Now, my first page, your first page should be saying, is your sentence wordy, repetitive, or contains redundancies? Is that what you're saying? Everybody's on the same page with me? Okay. Now let us see from 1 to 5. Now, if we have any gentlemen, sirs, I'm going to ask you to wait for a while. 1 to 5, I'm going to be looking to see the responses from our ladies. And then I'll do that alternatively. All right? So we'll tell you we agree with you. I'll explain if we need the explanation. And then we will move on with this exercise. We're doing this together. So let me just explain what A will mean. A will mean that you have some repetition. So if I say that the car reversed back into the garden, you would choose A because you know you're not supposed to say reverse and back. All right? Reverse would make back redundant. Now, B says it might contain misused metaphors or cliches. And you know, cliches are metaphors that are well worn. They are not formal anymore. So when we write with them, we consider it as a writing flaw. So if you say, he's a chip off the whole block, then chip off the whole block is a well-used metaphor. So we don't use it again. Now, some metaphors, we mix them up. It's misused. So if we talk about, my ship has set sail, and so all the birds have flown. Now, our ship was set sail, it don't match with all the birds that have flown. All right? So those metaphors are mixed up. If you have something like that, then that is B. But C says all the grammar, anything that is bad grammar or it's faulty in diction. Now, diction is a choice of words. So if you say something like, I'm a very good driver, you know. My father learned me to drive. Then you know that learn is the wrong word in that context. So you would choose C, all right? Subject-verb disagreement, wrong spelling, all of that would be C in terms of grammar. And then if the sentence is all right, then you would tell me D. So I have 5 sentences. We're watching carefully who is going to get them right in terms of, let me read number 1, and then you can tell me what is that, what answer you've come up with. I think they are very good sentences, simple, and so you pay close attention, all right? So my sentence 1 says, after a lengthy and prolonged stay abroad, the students experience serious problems in readjusting again to their former lifestyle. All right? Already we have some answers there. Yes, answer is A. We got that. You might forgive me if I don't shout your name. I'm trying to make sure that we get the answers. But we got that answer from J. Miller. J. Miller. Very good. Now, ladies, gentlemen, remember I asked you to wait a little. So 1 to 5, we are going to focus on the ladies. Now, the team fought tooth and nail to save defeat and consequently humiliation. Question 2, that was question 2. They fought tooth and nail. Is there anybody coming up with question 2? Anybody choosing? All right, I see a right answer there. I see a B. Okay, I think somebody has sent in 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is that Angel? Is that her name? Campbell? All right, so let me just look. Let me just tell you, and you will see if we agree. 1 should be A. 2 should be B. To ensure maximum security, the party organizers hired the services of security guards from several reputable firms. I'm hoping that you have a D at that one. Let me look again. To ensure maximum security, the party organizers hired the services of security guards from several reputable firms. I'm not picking up any error there, so that should be D. Then number 4, the youth of this country should be encouraged to aim for excellence rather than mediocrity. The youth of this country should aim for excellence rather than mediocrity. Am I hearing somebody saying D? Okay, number 3. I kept reading ensure, but the word is ensure, but the word is insure, and that's the wrong word. Thank you so very much. I'm wondering who is pointing that out to me. Is that Miss Miller? Insure is wrong diction, so that should be C. Very good, very good. Now keep both eyes open. Keep both eyes open. Now look at number 4. The youth of the country should be encouraged to aim at excellence rather than mediocrity. Are you seeing any cliches, misused metaphors there? Are you seeing anything? Then we will go with D. Then number 5 now. Oh, gentlemen, you're getting ready for 6 to 10. The featured speaker advised the graduating class to burn the midnight oil if they wish to dispel the fog of uncertainty. That is certainly misused metaphors. That should be B. That should be B, misused metaphors. Thank you so very much. All right, ladies, I'm going to ask you to give the gentlemen a chance. Keep your eyes open, ladies, just in case my glasses fall off and you see that I missed something. Don't let me get away with it. Let us go now. Gentlemen, can we hear from you? We repeated her name while he repeated her name while he sat in the room. Anybody, gentlemen, can we get anything for number 6? Number 6 says the sentence is B, and B says it's a cliche. He repeated her name while he sat in the room. I'm not finding the cliche there. I'm not finding the misused metaphor there at all. Look again. Look at the sentence again. Anybody want to chip in? Number 6, he repeated her name as he sat in the room. Not seeing that at all. So I want to stick with D. All right? We got a D? Thank you so very much. All right? Okay. Then number 7 says, the platter was circular in shape and resembled a harvest moon. No, gentlemen, understand that your you can only be circular in shape. You can't be circular in height or weight. So that is repetition. Number 7 is A. Number 8, all the boys' efforts to climb the ladder of success were nipped in the bud. We're going for a B at this time. Misuse metaphors. All right? Then number 9, everyone were willing to cooperate in the project. Everyone should take a was. So we have a C for this one. We have a C for this one. Subject-verb disagreement. All right? We are coming to where the gentlemen have their last one, number 10. Some of the children does not plan. As I read that one, you found out already. So that's a subject-verb disagreement. The children do not plan. It should be C. All right? Mesam, you gave us the right answer. Thank you so very much. All right, ladies, it's over to you again. Let us see how you do this one for us, ladies. It says that of the 3 children at the interview, the last one performed the worst. Is there anybody who has come up with that answer? Ladies, it's over to you. Of the 3 children, the last one performed the worst. Not seeing anything just yet in the chat, so I'm going to be moving on. That one is subject-verb disagreement because it should be worst. It should be worst. So this one was C. All right? Then we are moving to number 12. Suddenly, the place brightened, and I was amazed. Sorry. Suddenly, the place brightened, and I was amazed. That's number 12. And number 12, is that Angel? Angel says it's C. It's a grammatical error. I agree. I'm sorry that you couldn't tell me what is really wrong with it. But the place was brightened. The place can brighten itself. So you are correct in saying that it is C. And then we want to be moving on to number 14. If we explore every avenue and leave no stone unturned, we shall be assured of success. And that is B. I'm hoping that we got B for that one. Alrighty. And then number 15 says a number of decisions were made last night and changes will be seen soon. That's number 15. And number 15, we are taking letter B because although the subject is number, it's decisions that can be counted. So a number of decisions were made. I think you can question that too, you know. I'm sorry. Number of decisions. Subject is number. So if somebody has chosen for me subject verb disagreement, I'll look into that. Please bear in mind that the subject is number. The complement is decisions. All right? Good. Now, in delivering the speech to a strange audience, Larry felt, no, I'm sorry, I skipped number 16. It is a fact and certainly true that cannot be overemphasized. That is repetition. Fact, true, overemphasized. Technological revolution has made the workforce efficient and effective. Repetitious. The sentence is A. And then, as we move on, we look at sentence number 17. 17 says, in delivering that speech to a strange audience, Larry felt like a fish out of water, but eventually he gave it his best shot. Fish out of water. That's a cliche. And so that would be B for that answer. At the conclusion of the debate, the chief judge will present comments and announce the winners. Anybody has any take? Are we getting any takers for 19? Any takers for 19? Oh, you have lost us? Refresh. Can you refresh? I'm hearing some comments are saying that you're not hearing or you're not seeing. We're just going to ask you to refresh. Can you do that for us? We'll wait a little and see how well that goes on. Is that any better? I will go back to sentence when we first noticed. So I'll go back up to sentence 14. But we're just checking to see how we can address the situation that you now have. We're seeing the comments that you are saying that you're not hearing or you're not seeing. All right, if you do a refreshing. All right, you should be all right now. You could indicate for us. Now, those on Facebook and Instagram, you can still hear us and you can see us. So we are trying to make sure that the others of you are fine. We do apologize, and we are hoping that you can get on. And those of us, all right, remember that you can get a recording. So even if you miss a little, you can, we are trying to facilitate that problem, to fix that problem by facilitating using the recording. All right, so we are going to continue. All right, we're going to continue. We weren't very, very far. After I do number 20, I am going to invite you to send the questions in. All right, I want to be able to address the different areas. I want to make sure that your questions on both part 1 and part 2, in terms of how you get it, that this will be. Now, recognition of error is a part of part 1. So we want to make sure that you know all the possible errors that they can pose to you. All right? Now, I'm going to go back to number 16, just to make sure that you, after we noticed it, that area is adjusted. So 16 says, it is a fact and certainly true that cannot be overemphasized that the technical revolution has made the workforce more effective and efficient. And we said that that was repetitious. If it is a fact, it is already true. All right? And if we reinforce, we overemphasize. So that section is repetitious. Hope you got that. And then, when history scholars, in delivering that speech to a strange audience, Larry felt like a fish out of water, but eventually he gave it his best shot. And that one is loaded with cliches. A fish out of water, to give it your best shot, those are cliches. Those are metaphors that we use now, that they've lost their significance, and that's why we recognize them as cliches. They also shouldn't be used in your formal writing. You can talk with them, but we don't write with them. And then, at the conclusion of the debate, the chief judge will present comments and announce the winners. All right, I'm going to take out the diction of presenting comments. All right, he's not presenting the comments from other persons, so he will make comments. All right, so we'll take out that at C, we make comments. And then number 20, the students are reasonably well prepared for the exam, but they haven't scarcely begun to touch their peak performance. And where we have haven't and scarcely, we have double negative. Like when you say, I don't have no money, or nobody don't like me, or when you have two negatives in a sentence, that becomes a problem. We simply call it double negative. All right? And you know when you write with double negative, in math, it will tell you that 2 negatives will give you a positive. In English, it spells for us poor grammar, and so we take that out. All right? We take that out. I'm going to stop at this short, at this 20 for this one, but we have a few minutes. I want to accommodate any questions that you have. All right? I'll keep talking in terms of the exam and what you do and your tips for all of that, but I want to make sure that you understand what goes down. As I said, I don't know if we have any fourth formers who will be sitting the exam and you're online. I don't know if we have some out-of-school persons who will be doing the exam, but I want to make sure that you understand what it is all about. Now, paper 1. All right, so I'm going back to the start of the thing. Paper 2 is a morning paper. We call those the AM papers, all right? And all morning papers start at 9 o'clock, all right? Depending on what time or how many hours we have for the duration, the exam will end there. But usually, morning papers end by 12 o'clock. So, we have morning papers. The multiple choice paper usually are PM papers. They normally start at 1 o'clock in the day. Unless you have 3 papers on a particular day, then our afternoon papers start at 1. Your paper 1 has 60 questions. Question 1 to 20. Question 1 to 20 works with words. So synonyms, words which sound alike, words which have the same meaning. Or, as CSEC put it, words that is nearest in meanings. So we can have 5 or 6 of those for some papers. Then usually they have a section that is antonyms. Those are words that have opposites in meanings. Or you can have equivalent sentences. Or you can have words that appropriately finish a sentence. So the context, all right, you use the context to complete a word. They give you 4 words, you read it, and you will find out whether or not the word fits the passage. Anything to do with completion of sentences, recognition of errors, synonyms, antonyms, spelling, all of that can come and sometimes do come in section 1 to 20 of your paper 1. Now they don't divide up the paper and tell you this is part 1 and part 2. What they do is to say that questions 1 to 5 are based on this exercise. All right? 1 to 20 is the use of the language. The correct spelling, correct meaning, opposite meaning, word in context, equivalent sentences. You have those. Then 21 to 60. Questions 21 to 60 are based on comprehensions. All of that section are comprehensions. One comprehension may have 10 questions, or it may have 8 questions, but from 21 to you end, you have only comprehensions. Now you remember the 4 different genres? You have persuasive writing, and so what you can have in that section are advertisements or a passage that highlights something. You have narrative. It means the passage can tell a little story. You can chuckle as you go along, and the questions are asked on those. You have persuasive passages, and these persuasive passages will share with you an article. Sometimes it's a passage, and they want you to share the writer's attitude towards that. You have questions on those. And then the questions could be expository, a passage that has to do with a fact or some documentary kind of information. Now, usually, you know, I gave you 4 different discourses. Usually there are 10 questions on each of those. Because if the paper has 60 questions and the first 20 have to do with words, then the remaining 40. So you can have 10 persuasive, 10 expository, 10 descriptive, or 10 narrative. You can have that combination, or you can have 2 different passages that are persuasive in nature. That combination can work as well, all right? Just to make sure that you're on time, on target, just to make sure that nothing in this exam catches you unaware, just to make sure that you are right on target for the preparation of your exam. We want to make sure we cover everything. I don't know if we can still take a question or 2. We're going to check to see if there are any unanswered questions that you've sent in the chat, and this is how we will do same. So just give us a minute as we run through the chat to see what you've asked and to make sure we can provide you with an answer. Okay? Just checking. All right, it seems that we have addressed all the issues. It seems that we've answered your questions. Now, I want to make sure that you understand, I think I need to remind you that the exam is done on one day. You have some exams that paper 1 is one day and paper 2 is another day. For English A, usually the paper 2 happens in the morning and the paper 1 happens in the afternoon. So by 3 o'clock on that day, you would have finished with English, you would have written for your grade 1, and you're well on your way, all right? So it's a morning paper for paper 2, and remember your paper 2 is your summary, it is also your expository section, it is your story writing section, and it is your persuasive section. So like 120 for summary, and another 450 for story, so that we're looking at 570, and then we're looking at 250. So we are almost at 900, and then your third section. So your paper carries you a little over 1,000 words, and once you get into expecting it, you know, you drive past a sign on the road, and it has just a picture. In your head, try to come up with a story. Try to come up with something. You see a picture, let me just warn you. If you see a picture, let us say you see a picture of a gentleman looking at his watch and scratching his head. Your story is not supposed to be one line about that picture, no. You are not to tell me about this man who is always so punctual, and one day he realized that he was running late, and so he looked at his watch and scratched his head and rushed out. We don't give you a mark for that, because if we give you a stimulus that take up half page, you can't write one line, give we. You have to make sure that it's an important section of your story. So after you have him look at his watch and scratch his head and rush out, you have to make him use that again. All right, you can't take the stimulus and give us what, if they give you one line, and ask you to put that in a story, then we expect the one line to come one time. But we also expect that the story will revolve around that line. Suppose they give you the line that says, we had a wonderful day at the beach. That is the end, me would have want to think, are coming close. Then your story cannot be, we woke up 8 o'clock one morning. No, we woke up 6:30, and our parents decided that they would fry the chicken, and the sweet aroma of the chicken wafted upstairs, and we rushed downstairs. Oh, father was up at that time, and so he had the tube, and the car was ready, and we were packing in things. Oh, suddenly you realize we did not know where to do with the dog because the dog couldn't go with us. And so he sent Bob across, my elder brother, to take the dog to the neighbor. He stayed fairly long, but the neighbors decided that they would keep the dog. When finally we locked up the house, we were on the way. We chose to go through the way of St. Catherine as we were heading for Ocho-Rios. And at first, when we left out of Kingston, it was overcast. But by the time we came into early St. Catherine, it was bright and sunny. What a wonderful weather we had. By the time we got to Linstead, before we got on Flatbridge, we met a gentleman with a cart full of coconuts. But although the cart was full of coconut, it was being drawn by a donkey, and the donkey would not cross the bridge. My father, who's a good Samaritan, he came out and he helped. Finally, he got the donkey across. And so the long line of traffic that had piled up could now move. After we got over Flatbridge, we came to an area where we stopped for breakfast. Mother had fried some dumplings and had cooked some ackee, and we had a wonderful time. Then the gentleman who we helped gave us some coconut. We drank, and you go on. Then you move a little further, and you reach, and you tell me about everything. You know how much you're going to get for that story? 0. Well written. Perfectly illustrated, because I can write a good story, gentlemen. But that story no match the topic. That story is on my way, my journey to the beach. You notice how me wake soon? You notice how me cook everything? You notice how me put everything in the car? You notice how we meet people on the road? By the time you reach Dunn's River or whatever sea you're going, 450 words done. So you can't write. Here is your last paragraph. Finally, we saw the sign that says you're entering Dunn's River. We were excited. My little brother and sister, they started to dance in the back of the car. My mother started to take off her shoe and to put on her slipper. And then we finally got in. We found a parking space and we left the food in the car. And then we jumped into the river. We had a wonderful day. You don't get 0 though. Fine, you don't even spend 2 minutes at the beach. And the whole line says, we had a wonderful day at the beach. Be careful how you use the stimulus. Your stimulus should take up your story. Your stimulus should tell us what your story is about. And by the time you get to that last line, you have it down pat. And so what I want to say to you is to be careful. Finally, that last section on paper 2, the persuasive side, I don't know any Jamaican who doesn't know how to convince persons. So, are they not sending any COVID things? Should people take the COVID vaccination? They can't send that. You understand? But let us say they say to you, should online, and CSEC have been sending online learning long time before COVID. But let us say that they are asking us, should all schools be co-educational schools? All right? And you are to express your opinion. All right? If you are expressing your opinion, that's an argumentative essay. But if they say, provide an argument in 250 to 300 words, then what they are asking you to do is persuasive writing. Make sure that you use some persuasive tools. Make sure that once you use your persuasive tools, you are able. Don't start with a rhetorical question that have nothing to do with the rest of what you're writing. But you can start with an anecdote. That's a small 2-line story that will reinforce what you are going to say. Make sure that you establish your position well. That if you are going to say no, that your entire paper says no. No, but I write 2 paragraphs and say no. And then all of a sudden, We find that you change your stance. If you change your stance, you're going to lose mark. So remain on your topic. What you do, we use summary for an acronym. I'm going to ask you to use P-E-E, for another acronym. When you're writing the argument, P, get your first point. Then E, get an example of the point. And then the last E, explain your point. So let's go again. For the argument, for the persuasive, you go P. For the summary, you know how to do that. For the exposition, use the facts that they've given you. For your story, make sure it's relevant to your topic. Write about the topic that they give you. And for the last section now, you're tired now, you want to go P. But here's what is your P. First, the P is to get your point. Come up with a point. Then, get an example of the point. And then finally, explain the point. Tell us how effective the point is. Make sure that we understand the point that you have put in. So you have your introduction, you give us 3 points. Then you take the points one by one. And after you take them one by one, you look to see if you have illustrated P. You point out the point. Let us say, well, I can't do anything about technology because everything has changed since COVID. They used to ask you if cell phones should be made compulsory. Then can't ask you that again, because if you have no cell phone, you can't do any class. But let us say they asked you if cell phones should be compulsory. So if you are going to say yes, and a lot of you, when we mark those exams, you tell us what we want to hear, and you can't defend that. So give us a point. So you are going to say that, no, they're not to be made compulsory. Remember, you are writing before, pre-COVID. So you are going to say, 1, there are distractions. 2, that they are sources of conflict. And 3, that you can use them for copying. All right? Let us say those are the 3 points you are going to use. Now, your first P is you're saying that they are a distraction. Now, before COVID, understand that if you had your phone in class, how long when COVID are there? You're there one part in a class, and then on the same phone, you're there somewhere else. So you explain, you give an example. You can say, for instance, if you're in a class where something is being taught, you might find that it is very, very easy to slip into a site that brings you enjoyment and fun and stuff like that. And then you will explain. Then you move on to your next point. You give me an example and you explain. Now, once you use the acronym P, you have it down pat. You have it down pat. Things are all right. You simply need to understand how it is that you move forward. You simply need to understand how you use it. And remember now, your connectives, because when you're writing your article, you want to make sure that you don't come and say firstly, and then secondly, and then thirdly. Find a way of doing the transitioning. Find a way. And if that is how you can do it, then make sure that you don't have the same words in every opening paragraph. Make sure that you can look and that you observe what is it that you want to say and that you say it in an attractive manner. Watch out for your spelling. Watch out for your spelling. When we take off marks for expression, your spelling goes, we notice your spelling, we notice your sentence construction, we also notice the fact that your sentence construction, we look at run-on sentences, we look at poor punctuation. Those are things that are featured in the expression. We look at how it is that you begin. Now, when you look at how you use your dialogue, we tend not to encourage you to use any dialogue in section 4. You're writing in a particular mode. You're using a particular register. Now there are 5 kinds of register, and we expect you to use the formal register. But then when you get to section, the last section, you must also be aware of who is your audience. You must be aware of your audience, and in doing your audience, you need to understand that audience awareness will bring a certain interest to how you present your stuff. I want you to be aware that you're talking to somebody and not necessarily the marker. All right? They ask question about parents. Should parents be the one to choose subjects for their students? Now, when you start your writing, if you started out by addressing parents, you have to try to maintain that. I remember they asked us another one, should parents be sent to school to learn parenting skills? No, if you are answering the parents, then you've got to maintain that mode. But also remember, you can't keep switching from your formal register to a casual register. What do I mean by casual register and formal register? Your choice of words, the formality of your language. All right? You are only expected to relax a little bit in your story where you have people talking. You are only expected to have 2 friends kind of join together, and there's a kind of a relaxing. So you would call that register the casual register. If you have 2 persons, like a husband and a wife, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend, that register is intimate register. But the entire work cannot be made up of dialogue. If you're skilled, and you know how to set it, you can run a 450-word story on dialogue, but it must be able to have it. I want you to remember that when you write your short stories, you create a setting. Let us know where you are writing. You can't write a dopey story in a supermarket, all right? And you can't give us an accident between a crisp vehicle and a dilapidated one in the bush. Create your setting. Your setting speaks to your time and your date, all right? So it's a place, it's a time, it's a date. That's your setting. Make sure that your process of characterization, how you create your characters, is realistic. All right? If you're writing about an alien, then make sure that the topic warranted you to go out of space. You don't write about an alien in an everyday story, because we don't have aliens walking around. So you must know how to use your imagination, how to press forward. You must know how to create the correct setting. Now, your teachers would have told you about rising action and reaching your climax, then falling action, and then your resolution. Whichever way you are taught, however you were thinking, you set your pace. You have the exposition. You tell us what your story is about. You can use a flashback method. All right, you can start at the end and then go back. All right, let us say that somebody in the story is standing and he says, as I stood in front of the jury, I was nervous. Then the judge says, jury, have you reached, or chairman of the jury, have you reached a decision? Has the jury made a decision? As I waited for the answer, I was nervous. I realized that this moment came as a result of my actions 3 months before. You see, when you said that, you go back now for the 3 months before and you tell us what happened the 3 months. And when you finish and you say, and the police came and arrested me. All right. So you are now caught up with where we have. And then you say, I know I'm waiting. Okay? So you can either just make the jury say what is the injury, or you can just, what is their decision, or you can just leave it like that. You can just leave it like that. But let me just warn you. My final words to you is that when you start to write a story, nobody reach the end and jump up and say, oh, and it was just a dream. Well, the marks you are going to get is a nightmare, right? We have to know that it fits into but some students, when they're writing a story, they have no clue as to how it's going to end. And when the time is running out, them drop a line to say, it's dream them a dream. Well, I am older than you. Me know a song when they used to sing, say, oh, lean a dream, me a dream. Well, a dream, you're a dream, and you are on the worst end, because if it does not match it, you will not get the marks. Students, I just want to encourage you. I just want to say, reach out, do the practice. You can't be on your own. Those of you who have no use for your teacher of English, go and go friend up your teacher, go on a class, do the practice exercises. Be familiar with the exam. If they put anything, if you see one section on the exam that I didn't tell you about today, call Observer and let them find me and sue me, because you must get paper 1 with 60 questions. You must get paper 2 with 4 sections. You must get a PM paper. You must get an AM paper. And finally, you must get a grade 1. Thanks for joining us. We are trusting that it makes a difference and that you will see the results. Please remember that you also have your the recorded program, to which you can go and you can ask your questions. Blessings as you look forward to your exams.
All right, so we're through for today. This was the final day of our online study center workshop, and today we did English language. And based on what I was hearing, I could see a lot of encouragement coming out, reminding you guys to imagine and make your story, tell a story when you're writing, setting and place, time, venue, etc., so people can actually feel like they are where you're writing about. I want to thank Mrs. Sonia Lee for her presentation today, and thank Mr. Jimmy Hilton, our other master teacher from yesterday, who helped us with mathematics. And again, we want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. That's Phase 3 Productions, Sagicor Jamaica, and Tasty Limited. We want to thank you guys for joining us. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Observer Clips. And follow us on all our socials at Jamaica Observer. Again, thank you to our sponsors, thank you to our master teachers, and thank you to our audience for joining us. Until next time, I'm your host, Shamar Watson, and thanks again for coming.
I am just a little girl, but I have big dreams. And one day, all my dreams are going to come true.
That's why I'm glad Mommy opened a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account for me.
It's the best gift she could ever give me, because one day I won't be little anymore, and my small savings are going to grow big.
I even got my own debit card.
Give your child a gift that will grow. Open a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account today.